So after my testing today, side-by-side comparison, my early hunch about the Boston 13 was correct. When comparing it, directly comparing against the EVO SL, so I'm excited for this one. This comparison is the Adidas Adizero Boston 13 up against the crowd favorite, so the EVO SL. So I'll go through their similarities, their differences, and their key features. And hopefully from that, that'll give you guys a great indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, and if you guys want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And in the specs, they're both neutral road running shoes. And I think marketed at pretty similar areas here, but I know that they target the Boston at those longer training sessions because it's got that name attached to the shoe. Now with the price, you're going to pay a little bit more for the Boston. So is that worth it? Well, you tell me after the review. So yeah, $20 more in Australia and $10 more in the US. Now in the weight, lighter package here in the EVO SL, can you actually feel that? In the hand, yeah, you can slightly feel it, and you can sort of feel it on the foot as well. I think it feels a little bit more nimble, the EVO SL. And in the stack heights there, you're going to get a taller stack in the EVO SL, so a little bit more cushion here. Can you feel that on the foot? Well, yes, you can feel like the EVO SL has got the taller stack, and obviously nothing there in the drops. And in the uppers, there's a few similarities here with the design because they are both in that Adizero series. So both using engineered mesh, but the engineered mesh is different on both shoes, but breathability in both shoes is absolutely excellent. In the heel counters, I think their heel counters are about the same. They look slightly different, but they've both got a pretty stiff and structured heel counter. In the padding department though, they both probably got a medium amount of padding around the heel collar, but you're going to get slightly more padding around the heel collar in the EVO SL over the Boston, but the Boston's padding feels more premium. So, or the actual materials on the Boston's upper, it actually feels, yeah, it's like they use better materials here in the upper. You've got more padding on the tongue in the Boston, and the Boston's tongue is gusseted, where it is a thinner tongue in the EVO SL, and the tongue is not gusseted here. So with our lacing system though, so they have got the same lacing system, so pretty much reinforced eyelets up the shoe. They both use the same types of laces, so those really thin fiddly laces. And saying that, they both are about the same in the lockdown department as well. So they're not amazing in my opinion, but they're both fine. So I don't get any heel slippage in either shoe. And as I said, those fiddly laces can get a little bit tricky to get a good mid-foot lockdown, just to get that laces pressure right. Now in the fit, for me, both these two shoes fit the same. So in the length, they are both pretty much identical, and in the width, they feel identical as well. So in the toe box, I find both shoes quite roomy, and I think the volume is about the same as well. But some runners out there have let me know through the comments that the previous Boston and the EVO SL have got a different fit. So I can't really tell the difference on my foot, but I've got to take their word for it because everyone's foot is different. But for me, both these uppers fit pretty much exactly the same. And in the outsole, so a few little similarities here, but also some important differences. So with the Boston 13, you can see here with this shoe, just with the amount of coverage on the bottom, there's a real focus on durability. So trying to make the shoe as durable as they can, and they've gone away from the majority of the shoe being continental rubber. Now they've got that light traction. So light traction debuted on the Pro 4 just recently, but it's a totally different compound to that. It's much thicker, it's much harder, and it's certainly a lot louder on the road. So yeah, it is a little bit slappy, but I do predict it's going to be really durable, and also I think it's going to be good to go in the wet. I haven't tested it out in the wet, but I'm just having a stab in the dark that I think it's going to be good to go. Why else would they change from Continental, which was so good, and put this light traction on? So yeah, but yeah, the big key feature here on the bottom of the Boston, you can just tell that it's built for those big long training sessions, and it's going to hold up. They still do have that the Continental rubber under the big toe there, just to keep that Continental tradition alive. Maybe it's through, maybe they've got a contract with them. They need to keep having the Continental rubber on their shoes. I don't know why it's still there for this one. But as you can see here, EVO SL, so pretty much the entire of the forefoot there is that one big slab of Continental rubber, and you can see in comparison to the light traction in the bottom of this shoe, there's not as much coverage. the rubber isn't as thick, and it doesn't have the lugs, or it's not as aggressive. So this one looks much more similar to what they use in the race version, so the Pro 4 or all the Pro Evo. So this one, yeah, much more slick looking. However, it doesn't really affect the grip because it's still pretty good in the wet conditions. It's not perfect, a little bit of slippage, but still pretty good for being such a slick looking surface there. And as you can see there, we've still got a little bit of rubber here in the high wear areas at the back. That clear rubber, it's not the Continental rubber, but it still does pretty good job there to add some durability to the shoe, and then plenty of exposed foam through the middle. But as you can see there, the real differences is just you can see the amount of rubber coverage and the type of rubber that they use on the Boston, totally different to what they've got on the EVO SL. And in the midsole, so this is where we've got a very simple design going on here in the EVO SL up against a much more complicated midsole combination of what's going on here. So dual density foam. So they've got their Light Strike Pro as the top layer. So more Light Strike Pro in this shoe in comparison to the previous version. So 13.8% more they claim. However, they shrunk the stack height of the shoe, so I think it negates the extra Light Strike Pro in the shoe. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, top layer of this Light Strike Pro, their premium foam. Then they've got their bottom layer of their Light Strike foam. So not the Pros, just the standard EVA foam. And that's obviously there just to add a little bit of durability, a little bit of stability to the shoe as well. Now sandwiched in between those two layers of foam, they've got their Energy Rods 2.0, just to give the shoe a little bit of structure, give the shoe a little bit of rigidity. Now, flexibility wise though, they're not like the Energy Rods that are in the race shoe, like the carbon rods. These ones are quite flexible. So yeah, you can pretty much bend the shoe wherever you get it, but it does maintain a little bit of rigidity in the shoe. Geometry wise as well, we have got a 4-foot rocker here. It's probably on the later stage of a 4-foot rocker in comparison to Adidas's other models of how they incorporate their rockers. So you can probably feel this one a little bit later on toe off, and you probably get the most out of it when you're running at the faster paces. Now, in comparison here to the EVO SL, very simple design. One big slab of the Super Foam Light Strike Pro. So instead of this one, 2 foams, this has just got the one, all just the good stuff in it. Now, within this shoe though, they don't have their Energy Rods. They have just got this mid-foot shank. So it's about this long and it sits in the middle of the shoe, and that's just designed to give this shoe a little bit of rigidity as well. Now flexibility wise, this shoe is quite flexible up on the toe there, as you can see. So just as flexible as the Boston on the toe, or probably the Boston's a bit stiffer on the toe off. But through the middle of the shoe, the EVO SL is super stiff, so I can't bend it at all, where I can actually bend the Boston in half, as you can see there. So this mid-foot shank in the EVO SL is actually more rigid than the Boston. With our geometry of this shoe, so the geometries are similar, but they are certainly different. So this one certainly shares the geometry more closely to the race day shoes. So this one has a earlier stage rocker, so earlier than the Boston, and the rocker here, yeah, it's not as aggressive, but it's yeah, much earlier, and we've got a really big sweep forward here. So you can feel this rocker, or it's more accommodating at the slower paces, but you can still feel it when you're up and going as well. But this one, you can also feel it when you're just jogging around, where this one, it's not really effective at those jogging paces. And when comparing the rides, this is where it gets interesting. So the Boston 13, so it's really marketed at those longer training sessions and some speed sessions as well, because you can look at the way the shoe's designed. The majority of the Super Foam is under the 4-foot, so when we're on the 4-foot, putting power in the 4-foot, we're running at those faster paces. And also the geometry, this later aggressive rocker is going to accommodate that a little more. So that's where it's aimed at, although a lot of people out there do claim it's a versatile shoe, because it is a pretty versatile shoe. It's a training shoe, you can still jog around in it. But it does really have a sweet spot, this shoe, and it is probably from that steady pace up to about that tempo pace. So it's got a real sweet spot. Apart from that, I think it's quite clunky. I think it feels a little bit too firm in the heel. Although it's a nice stable ride, it's not overly comfortable, especially just jogging around in, but it does obviously come alive when you start putting some pace through the shoe. Now, in comparison, the EVO SL. So for me, this shoe is super smooth. The Boston is not a smooth shoe. This is a super comfortable shoe. It's a super efficient shoe. It's a versatile shoe. So it feels great just jogging around, but it can certainly go all the way up to tempo pace or even faster, and it still feels great. So still nice and responsive, if not more responsive. It's got more bounce than the Boston. Yeah, and for me, it's more responsive. It feels better off the toe off. It probably just lacks the top end speed toe off that the Boston has, but probably not by much. So there's not enough difference between the two shoes to say one is faster than the other. But overall, as I said, it's softer, it's got more bounce, it's got bigger stack, it's more efficient, it's more comfortable, it's more versatile. You've got more rocker, it's got more roll forward. So that's the difference between these two shoes. This is a little bit more niche, whereas this shoe can pretty much do everything that the Boss can do, but it just does it better. It just feels better and it's more comfortable. And with the best use, I've pretty much just covered it. So as I said, the Boston 13, it's got a real sweet spot. So anywhere from that steady pace up until tempo pace. Yes, a bit of threshold. So your workouts, it's going to be good for your shorter or your longer workouts, or any of your runs where that pace is included in any of your workouts. I think this shoe is going to shine there. Where it does lack is those slower speeds for me. As I said, it just feels a little bit clunky and a little bit too firm through the heel, whereas the EVO SL, so versatile. This shoe will handle anything that you throw at it. Feels great to jog around in. Great at easy paces, and it'll go all the way up to your threshold pace as well. It just feels amazing at all. Super efficient, very comfortable. And also a long run. In a long run, if I have to pick between these two shoes, I'll pick the EVO SL any day of the week. So after my testing today, side-by-side comparison, my early hunch about the Boston 13 was correct. When comparing it, directly comparing against the EVO SL, it's actually quite underwhelming, the Boston 13. So yeah, it just, it's okay and it's not too different from the previous version, but I'm comparing it directly up against a cheaper version of the Adidas liner, and it's just a bit underwhelming when comparing it to this shoe. So as I said, this shoe, it's cheaper, it's more cushioned, it's slightly softer, it's got more bounce, there's more pop, it's more responsive, it's more rocketed, more comfortable. It's overall, it just does everything that the Boston claims to do, but it just does it better. So I don't know a runner out there. So if a runner went into the store and just wanted to compare both these two shoes at different price ranges, so they tried the shoe on, they walked around it, tried it out in the treadmill. On the feel and the performance of the ride, I don't know too many runners out there that are actually going to buy the Boston over the EVO SL, especially this shoe being so cheap. Like, you walk around in both these two shoes and you run in, if you didn't know anything about the shoes, you would say that this is the premium version over the Boston, so not the other way around. So I actually think Adidas has shot themselves in the foot here with the Boston 13. So with the release of this shoe, they should have just called the EVO SL the Boston 13, just to keep the name alive, because yeah, I think the Boston sales are gonna dwindle because there is now this shoe that does everything that this shoe can do, but better. But anyway, that's just my experience between these two shoes and just my opinion. I know there's going to be some die-hard Boston fans out there that are not going to be happy with this review, but go out and test these two shoes yourself. So go into the store and try them on and let me know in the comments of which one you prefer and why. Really looking forward to that. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes or how they compare to anything else, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.